All right, so we're here today with Mrs. Dunham. She's a second grade teacher at Dauphin Island Elementary School, and we're here to talk a little about her teaching and how she feels about technology, where she goes with technology in her classroom, pros, cons, all that kind of good stuff. So first of all, thank you so much for doing this interview, especially on short notice.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So let me ask first then, what got you into teaching?
I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. The love for children.
Lovely. How long have you been a teacher?
28 years.
28 years. So you've obviously, when it comes to technology, seen a lot start coming, pushing. Do you feel like people are pushing more technology to be used in classroom environment?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Think about it this way. The technology, when I first started teaching, we didn't use a copy machine. We used the purple Ditto Masters.
Oh, nice.
So,
Yes.
the children didn't hold anything.
Right.
It was nothing. So, technology has come a long way. I was out of the classroom for 10 years. This is my third year back in the classroom. And when I came back in, I had to learn a lot of stuff because I didn't know how to turn on a smart board. My first year back in, my children had to teach me how to do it.
So that's a prime example of how kids nowadays especially have, how much they know about like phones to computers, how much they know. And when we were obviously growing up, there was no such thing as any of this stuff. How does that feel as far as like the fact you have the smart board here and you came back and this was the first time obviously that you started using it?
Yes.
Do you think it's a plus for the classroom?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because they can manipulate, we use it a lot with our math.
Mm-hmm.
When the children are manipulating their tools, we can also have someone on the board manipulating it, and they can connect the pieces and see that they go together rather than drawing them and then having to erase and showing them how they go together. When we were doing place value, just touching a button and seeing the 10 rod break apart into 10 ones. It's played a vital role in the classroom.
Besides the smart board, is there any other type of technology that you use to enhance?
The children use the computers every day. We use it for accelerated reader and looking up things. I've even showed them if you don't know how to spell a word.
Mm-hmm.
I've shown them how to get on a Word document, type it in the best you can,
Right.
and then you can do spell check.
Right.
Because that's what people do every day now. So
Right.
they know how to do that. We have Nooks in our classroom.
Nooks, so what's Nooks?
Nooks are, they can read little books online.
Okay.
Now, I do not have mine hooked to internet because I want to know exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had little boys do things and
So
change
even,
your passwords. So
right,
we
right.
don't do that anymore.
I see what you're talking about. So with that in mind, obviously there's been some positives like what you were talking about. What do you feel like are the negatives with adding technology?
Supervision. I mean, supervision is the thing, because when I'm at a reading group and the children are on a computer, or if I'm not here during the day, you know, I might have a sub, what are they going to do when I'm not around? Like I say, I had some boys, it was just in Big Universe, but they got on, they found the little girls' usernames and passwords, and they changed them.
Already, at such a young age to be able to do
They changed their little avatar to old women. So when I got back, they quickly changed it, but they know how to get in and do these things.
Right.
Something I would have never thought about doing. So it's supervision. You know, it's a must to be on top of them, to
Right.
know what they're doing, and you have to check behind them to see where they've been.
Now, there's a lot of teachers now that have started to implement blogging for kids as young as in kindergarten. What do you think about that?
I'm really not familiar enough with it myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't bring anything in until I feel comfortable
Right.
with it. And it's not something I'm comfortable with at this point, maybe a little down the road when I become comfortable. But like I say, it goes back to supervision. So if I'm not comfortable, I need to be proficient with it before I put it with my children.
In your classroom, how many hours a day would you say that technology is actually being used? If you could guess.
Well, I would say probably 4 hours
4 hours out of the
out of 7,
7.
because we use it during the entire reading block. We use it during intervention time. We use it during math, writing. I would say it's used
It's
just
live,
about all
right?
that. I mean, as I'm thinking about it, my smart board is on all day long. My computers are up all day long. And children, when they need to go, it's readily available to them. The children write. I mean, you've got to keep a good balance.
Right, right.
And when someone's using the smart board, other children can be using manipulatives, or they could be using a whiteboard, or they could write whiteboard, or they could be using paper, pencil. I mean, no, I do not think. Now, I do think spelling has dramatically.
Because of that spell check.
I think spelling has dramatically gone down.
Mhm.
I mean, I do believe that. But reading, I think it's increased. Because the children are going on to the internet, looking for different things, and they're having to read it. But like I say, texting hurts the writing.
Hurts the writing, yeah, exactly. What about math? Do you think it's pretty much the same, or has technology helped?
I think technology's helped, because now they can see it, and they need to see it and manipulate it, so they can get a visual. And once they get a good visual, then they can do it on their own.
Do you think this type of learning process is best to have throughout their, all the way up through 12th grade? This type to implement?
Yes.
Because it seems like once high school especially starts, this type of learning drops off, and it goes back to the old book, paper,
Lecture.
the lecture, and that's one of the problems, the focus and all. You feel like now that technology is really, because kids especially, well, we all are, so visual with everything, so having all these wonderful visuals and able to interpret in their mind that they can put everything together. Do you feel like that's what's happened?
I really do, and I think the children are suffering in the upper grades because elementary schools jump on board with this.
Yeah, they seem to be actually the precursor to what it should be everywhere else. That's everybody.
We jump on board, and we do what we need to do. We change a lot, and the older grades, they seem stuck in a rut.
Do you think it's because that you have to basically teach all subject matters, and therefore you have to kind of make sure that everyone's attention, as opposed to like in the upper grades, they have to go to different classes and there's...
I never really thought of it that way, but now that you said it, it really does, because if you're a math teacher and you've been an algebra teacher for 20 years,
Right.
you could keep the same lesson plans and teach them year after year after year,
Right.
if you're not trying to fit the needs.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Pleasure.